The series begins with Tomoyo Kanzaki, a young high school student and member of the literature club, and she reveals that she's not the only member of the club who's fed up with his shunobyu. Shunobyu is a Japanese slang term which is used to describe the behavior of teenagers who believe they've superpowers and behave embarrassingly. However, Andu disagrees as he believes all the other members generally get along with him, and Tomoyo decides to give it a test. Later, Hatoko Kushikawa, another member of the club, returns and finds Andu pretending. However, she gets serious and calls an ambulance, but Andu takes care of the situation and the test fails. He decides he'll devise a better way to express the danger he's in. Afterwards, he covers his head with blood and tries scaring the next member, Chifu Himeki, a middle school loli, but she begins crying. In the next scene, Andu continues talking about superpowers. He believes one day his right arm will dwell with superpower. In the next scene, Andu again pretends that his body is burning with fire, but Tomoyo ignores him. She reveals that they have been receiving complaints from the other clubs for being too loud. So reveals that the student council has warned them to stop causing trouble for the other clubs. Afterwards, she gets prepared to get started on their monthly superpower checkup. The Hatoko creates magma and attacks Chifu. However, Chifu creates a new bedrock to hold it down. Their battle enters a new stage, therefore. It's revealed that Tomoyo's superpower is called the closed clock. It grants her the ability to manipulate time, except that she can't turn it back. She can speed it up, stop it, and slow it down at will. Andu asks Sayumi to demonstrate her superpower, but she replies that her power hasn't changed much. Sayumi possesses the power called the Route of Origin. This power gives her the ability to restore anything she touches to its original state. However, Andu notices that the standards for restoration are still vague. Sayumi prepares to conclude their 6th superpower checkup, but Andu interrupts her because his turn is yet to come. The other members tell him there's no need to check his powers, and it is revealed that her name is Kudo Mairei, and she scolds them for not following the rules of the club. However, Andu discloses that he's well aware of her true intentions, which surprises her. To everyone's surprise, Kudo reveals that she's been keeping them under surveillance for some time. She reveals that she has also awakened superpowers and challenges them to a battle. Andu accepts her challenge, and Kudo steals his power, revealing that her superpower grants her the ability to steal anyone's power. She notices that Andu's power is nothing more than a useless flame that can't be used for combat. The other members agree with her, which destroys Andu's confidence. Afterwards, Tomoyo steps up for the challenge and decides to not use her superpower and instead challenges her to a physical fight. Kudo is overpowered and Sayumi locks her in a submission, which causes her to give up. After, she returned Andu's power to him immediately. Now the literature club members wonder how their powers were awakened 6 months ago, while the anonymous messenger observes them from the tree. Andu delivers an A to Z lecture on nicknames and aliases to the other members. Afterwards, he tells everyone to freely choose whatever nicknames they want. However, Tomoyo doesn't show any interest, as she believes Andu has forced all of them to take part in this event. She reveals that Andu tempted Chifu to his side and created a situation where no one could refuse. Regardless of everything, Tomoyo notices that the other members have taken an interest in this event, and she decides to participate as well. Firstly, Hatoko shows her nickname to Andu. However, she has only used different colors as initials in her real name. Andu rejects the colored nicknames, and Hatoko proposes a weird idea. She finalizes that she'll go with Play Along Straight Man Hatoko as her nickname, and Andu reluctantly accepts. Afterwards, Sayumi also finishes and reveals that she has decided to use Powdered Snow Princess as her nickname. Andu gets impressed as Sayumi shows him a bunch of different cool nicknames. However, he informs Sayumi that he expected that she'd have used something mature like a witch or queen. Instead, he's pretty surprised to know that she likes cute nicknames, which offends her, and she goes away. Afterwards, Shifuya reveals that she'll go with Maiken as her nickname, but Andu rejects it. She gets emotional and complains that he said they were free to choose whatever they wanted. Consequently, he accepts Maiken, but she shows him a couple of absurd nicknames and finalizes to call herself Pineapple. Lastly, Tomoyo reveals her nickname Endless Paradox, which overwhelms Andu. He gets highly impressed by her and declares her the winner of this event. Suddenly, Kudo arrives at the door and reveals that she has business with Andu. Much to everyone's surprise, she confesses her feelings of love to Andu and tells him that she'll go out with him. Tomoyo gets annoyed and interrupts Kudo. However, she asks Tomoyo if she's romantically interested in Andu. Tomoyo gets flustered and replies that she'd rather turn into a lesbian than fall in love with a dark past personified like Andu. Therefore, Kudo orders her to butt out and reveals that she found a love letter from Andu in her shoe locker. However, in his defense, Andu reveals that he was trying to show Kudo the nickname he had devised for her power. In reality, Kudo has mistaken the word robber for lover in the letter. He proceeds to point out the misunderstanding, but Kudo calls him darling, which confuses him. Suddenly, Shifuyu gets mad and tells Kudo that she can't steal Andu from their club. Kudo notices that Shifuyu is the niece of Satomi while Tomoyo joins Shifuyu. Kudo mocks Tomoyo for having the smallest chest in the room after Shifuyu. Consequently, Tomoyo gets furious and attacks her with closed clock. Much to everyone's surprise, Kudo uses this as an opportunity and steals her superpower. To save her, Andu requests Kudo to return Tomoyo's power and she happily agrees. In the next scene, Andu finishes his class and finds Kudo waiting for him outside. He gets surprised, but she forcefully decides to accompany him to the literature club. Before dropping him at the club, she stops and exchanges her email with him. Later, she bids him farewell and coldly warns him not to cheat on her with the other members of the club. Andu enters the club, however, he notices all the members of the club are pissed off at him. He goes to Tomoyo and she discloses that it's unpleasant for her to watch him flirting together with Kudo in public. Andu asks her if she's getting jealous of Kudo, but Tomoyo gets flustered and denies. Afterwards, he goes to Hatoko, but she decides to ignore him. Shifuyu does the same thing and uses her teddy bear Listen to communicate with Andu. Later, she and Hatoko both start ignoring Andu and he goes to Sayumi. To his surprise, she also behaves coldly, but afterwards, she advises him to settle things with Kudo once and for all. At the end of the day, Andu reveals the truth to Kudo and breaks up with her. He apologizes for breaking her heart while she breaks down in tears and leaves. Tomoyo praises Andu for taking the right decision and cheers him up. He reveals that his true intentions were to make Kudo feel like she was one of them. He never intended to break her heart, and the opposite of what he wanted happened. Tomoyo cheers him up and Andu decides he'll always be himself and never stop being a Chunibyo. Later, he receives a text from Kudo, which says that she hopes they'll still be friends. Andu's teacher Satomi summons him to review his test. She asks him why he deliberately uses difficult kanji instead of easy ones. Andu replies that he feels like it is cooler that way, and Satomi reveals that despite the use of difficult kanji, he was still able to earn a high score, which irritates her. She wishes to mark all of the answers he screwed around on as incorrect, but they aren't exactly wrong. She gives up and decides to leave his correction in Takanashi's hands. Afterwards, she dismisses him. However, another student named Sagami arrives in the office. Andu asks him if he has any business with Satomi, to which he replies positively. Sagami reveals that he came to get his lover back from Satomi and afterwards requests her to return his love. She hands him his handheld console and orders him to refrain from playing games in class. Sagami then discloses that his girlfriend from his first year broke up with him even though she was the one who confessed. Andu isn't surprised at all because Sagami is a weird otaku who obsesses over anime girls instead of real ones. This initiates an argument between them and Sagami calls Andu a Chunibyo loser who creates his own characters to fit into anime. Satomi gets frustrated and finally kicks them out of her office. Later, while sitting on the stairs with Andu, Sagami leaves to meet his girlfriend behind the gym. Much to his surprise, Andu finds Sayumi standing behind him. She tells him to head out to the literature club as today is the literature club's recreation day. In the next scene, we see Andu and Tomoyo playing a competitive tennis match. However, she gets hit by the ball and falls on the floor. Andu tells her to be careful and discloses that hard tennis is more difficult than soft tennis. Sayumi and Hatoko are effortlessly playing a hard tennis match, while Tomoyo struggles in soft tennis. Andu then reveals that Sayumi is naturally athletic and Hatoko played soft tennis in middle school, that's why both of them are so good. He tries to take a sneak peek while Hatoko grabs the tennis ball from her underskirt, but Tomoyo catches him. She calls him a pervert and warns him to refrain from such perverted acts. It is revealed that all the credit for the recreation day goes to Shifuyu, as she made the court and all the equipment. Later, Sayumi and Hatoko switch partners with Andu and Tomoyo. Andu gets paired up with Hatoko and she serves a fireball throw at him, but he manages to dodge it in time. He prepares his dark flames, but Hatoko has already served the fireball, which hits his head. Later, she apologizes to Andu, but Sayumi handles the situation by using her restoration power. Afterwards, Andu shows his notebook called the Bloody Bible to everyone that's filled with nicknames. However, Tomoyo notices that he has misspelt the Bible as Viver and Sayumi begin laughing. In reality, Sayumi deliberately taught Andu the wrong spellings to mock him. Later, the girls prepare to visit karaoke and Andu decides to join them. However, he notices that his Bloody Bible is missing from his bag, therefore he leaves to find it. The girls cancel their plan and Hatoko is positive that he will find his book. She recalls that everyone used to call her Yakitori back in elementary school because her last name is Kushikawa, which means skewer skin. She doesn't care about it anymore, but at that time she hated being called that. However, one day Andu stood up for her and gave her a new nickname, which was Fire Phoenix. Because of that, everyone started calling her by her original name, Hatoko. The kid said Ando's nickname was Dorky, and it saved her. Sayumi agrees as she believes Ando is a hopeless idiot, but he's surprisingly reliable. The moment Sayumi received her power, a question popped into her immediately. The question of whether it could be used to bring back the dead. However, Ando saved her from that as he strictly ordered her to not consider bringing a dead person or dead animal back to life. Now she truly believes that the power to bring back the dead shouldn't exist in this world. If she tries to do it and succeeds, she won't be able to maintain her mental stability. Shifuyu reveals that Ando advised her that she shouldn't create life. Tomoyo realizes that Ando is bearing half the burden of their superpowers. The scene then shifts to Ando, who finds a mysterious man holding his bloody Bible. He discloses that Ando's nickname is Galicia Sinjure, and Ando gets embarrassed at first. However, much to his surprise, the mysterious man praises his naming sense and returns his book. He reveals that he also has a similar book called the Reverse Crux Record with a symbol of rebellion against God. He finally discloses that his name is Kiryu, held Kaiser Lucy first. However, he goes by the name of Kiryu Hajime in this world. Later, they discuss the thoughts behind their nicknames in a restaurant. Hajime reveals he accidentally entered the literature club as he's an alumnus. Suddenly, he receives a call and prepares to leave for work. Ando asks him if believes that someone like him can be Chunibyo. Hajime replies Chunibyo comes in varieties, but they share a core. It starts with self-denial, creating a different self in a fictional setting, because you can't accept yourself in the world you live in. However, those emotions are also a fierce craving for self-affirmation. You wish for someone to accept you, just as strongly as you wish to be someone else. This unresolved paradox of self-denial and self-affirmation is the root of Chunibyo, an endless paradox. Suddenly, he finds Tomoyo, and she reveals that she often uses this restaurant to study. Afterwards, she notices Hajime and reveals that he's her elder brother. She tells him to come back home as everyone's worried about him, but he refuses. Instead, he tells her to inform their father to send the living for this month and leave. Ando realizes that Tomoyo's nickname Endless Paradox came from Hajime's naming sense. She reveals that he's her stepbrother. They share a father, but their mothers are different. Kiryu is the family name of Hajime's mother, and he's always gone by his mother's last name since childhood. She further discloses that Hajime was always an incredible person. He was keen, intellectual, handsome, and good in both literary and physical realms. He always came first or second in the high school national exams. During high school, he was in the literature club, but during middle school, he went to nationals for track. 1 year ago, he said, "This world is wrong," quit college, and left home. She asks Ando if he informed Hajime about their powers, to which he replies negatively. The next day, Ando finds Chifu standing outside of school. She tells him that she has decided to quit school, which surprises Ando. Ando gives Chifu a piggyback ride to drop her at the elementary school. He asks her the reason for not using her ability, to which she replies that it's difficult for her to use it in front of a lot of people. Ando gets tired because of her burden, but Chifu insists him to continue. Nevertheless, he drops her at the elementary school and meets her friend Kyuki Madoka. Ando gets overwhelmed with elation by the coolness of her name. Afterwards, he bids them farewell but notices that Kyuki is quite possessive of Chifu. He goes back to school and accidentally bumps into his teacher Sayumi, who's been sleepwalking. She asks him if Chifu has visited the literature club lately, to which he replies positively. She believes it's not normal for a lone elementary schooler to mingle with high school students and leave. The scene then shifts to the literature club, where Ando shows a box to everyone. He overwhelmingly suggests everyone cosplay whatever they want with the help of Chifu's power. The other members show reluctance, but Chifu agrees. Afterwards, Ando instructs them to write something they want to cosplay and drop it in the box. The cosplay show starts with Ando, who wears a maid outfit written by Hatoko. Everyone mocks him, and Sayumi clicks his embarrassing pictures to annoy him. Up next is Sayumi, and she cosplays in bloomers, which were also suggested by Hatoko. She gets extremely shy, but Ando shows perverted behavior, as a result of which she punches him. Afterwards, Hatoko cosplays as a sun, which was suggested by Chifu. Later, it's Chifu's turn, and she cosplays in bondage gear, which was suggested by Ando. At last, Tomoyo cosplays in bikini armor, which was her own idea, and Ando gets embarrassed. Chifu tells Ando to take a group picture to keep as a memento because they currently don't have a single group picture. Ando takes the group picture, but suddenly Sayumi begins knocking on the door. Consequently, Chifu dispels her power, but everyone becomes naked, and Tomoyo knocks out Ando. She uses closed clock to handle the situation, and later the group members meet Sayumi. Sayumi reveals that Chifu left school early today before morning homeroom and said that her stomach hurt. She believes Chifu lied and used it as an excuse to hang out with the literature club members. However, she gives her relief, and while leaving tells her to visit the school tomorrow. Chifu gets sad and suddenly decides to return home while Kyuki rings her doorbell. On the other hand, Andu, being home alone today, gets undressed and decides he'll watch a late-night movie with an erotic title. He enters his room and surprisingly meets Shifu, who reveals that she had a fight with Kyuki. According to Shifu, Kyuki doesn't want her to hang out with the members of the literature club anymore. She believes it's weird for Shifu to hang out with high schoolers. Andu suggests she go home and talk about it tomorrow in detail. However, much to his surprise, she reveals that Kyuki is at her house now. Andu gets panicked and tells her to return right away. He offers to help her, and Shifu suddenly takes him to her house. Kyuki barges into Shifu's room and finds a half-naked Andu who terrorizes her. She calls him a pervert and urges Shifu to stay away from him. However, Shifu disagrees and Kyuki asks her the reason for her firm relationship with the literature club members. Shifu reveals that she cannot disclose it and Kyuki leaves in agony. The next day, Andu thanks Shifu for keeping their secret. However, she informs Andu that she wasn't able to make up with Kyuki. Unable to witness her sadness, Andu offers Shifu he'll help her make up with Kyuki. Later, he surprises Kyuki outside the piano classroom. She hesitates initially, but Andu requests her to give her some time. The scene then shifts to the literature club, where Hatoko fixes Listen. It is revealed that Listen was a present from Sayumi, and before that Shifu used to spend most of her time with Sayumi. On the other hand, Andu lies to Kyuki about the secret and tells her that he's a lolicon. He uses absurd reasons to try to convince her, but Shifu arrives on the scene. With the help from Sayumi, Shifu gives Kyuki a stuffed animal as a symbol of their making up, and they become friends again. Sayumi thanks Andu for his help, and he recalls a flashback when Sayumi introduced Shifu to the literature club for the first time. Later, Shifu reveals that she was trying to quit elementary school so she could enter high school. However, now she's satisfied because she'll be able to catch up with Andu in a few years. Andu brings a guitar to the literature club and pretends to act cool in front of the other members. Sayumi and Tomoyo purposely ignore him, but Hatoko asks him about it. He manages to draw the attention of others, and Tomoyo mocks his lame intentions. She believes he just wants to look cool in front of others and doesn't know how to play the guitar. Nevertheless, he tries to convince them that he's carrying an assault rifle inside the guitar case, but fails miserably. He finally opens the case and shows them the red alert. The literature club members give Andu an exclusive game developed solely for him on his birthday. He gets overwhelmed with happiness and begins crying. In a flashback, it is revealed that Sayumi decided she'll use her route of origin to eliminate all of their superpowers. She wanted to erase everything and return to being a normal high schooler. Everybody agreed, but Andu was against it. He didn't want their powers to get erased because he thought it would be a waste. In the next scene, it is revealed that Sayumi is in bed. Tomoyo believes the fatigue of working on the game finally caught up to her because she handled the most important parts of the game alone. The girls thought that only one person should go and visit her to represent all of them. Later, Andu visits her mansion and Sayumi opens the door. He gets surprised that she dresses differently and simply in her home. He apologizes to her for working hard for him, but she tells him not to. Afterwards, he praises Sayumi by saying that she looks in glasses and she gets shy. Suddenly, her younger sister, Manga Takanashi, arrives and gets shocked to see Andu sitting alone with Sayumi. She greets Andu and tries to tease Sayumi. Afterwards, she brings the middle school graduation album of her sister to Andu, but Sayumi sends her away. Andu realizes that Maya is extrovert and quite enthusiastic, unlike Sayumi. Sayumi reveals she's a disaster and her late grandmother would have been disappointed by her. Furthermore, she states that her grandmother was a strict and fastidious woman. She often chastised Sayumi over things and advised her to become a proper woman. Later, Sayumi shows her middle school graduation album to Andu, and he notices that she hasn't changed at all. It is revealed that she was the president of the student council in middle school. Andu asks her why she didn't try to become the student council president in high school. Suddenly, Sayumi gets serious and requests Andu to leave because she's feeling a bit drowsy. The scene then shifts to a flashback where we see Sayumi and Andu preparing for a fight. The fight starts and Andu begins chanting to summon his dark flames, but Sayumi instantly drops him to the ground. However, he tries tricking her, but she again kicks him and drops him. Sayumi believes Andu is holding back against her because she's a woman. She tells him to go all out or accept his defeat. However, Andu persistently continues to fight her even though she wins every time. In the next scene, it is revealed that Sayumi didn't visit the literature club despite attending the school. Tomoyo asks Andu about her condition, to which he replies that she was fine yesterday and everything was normal. He receives a call from Maya, who informs him that he dropped his student handbook at her front door yesterday. He tells her to hand it to Sayumi and asks her about her health. She asks Andu if something happened between him and Sayumi. Andu replies that it seems like he might have done something to upset her. He accidentally asked Sayumi if she wanted to become the student council president in high school, and afterwards her attitude changed. Maya reveals that Sayumi was a perfect student council president in middle school. Because of her strict attitude, she caused many of her friends to drift away from her. Therefore, she wanted to become the student council president in high school to assemble an eligible team of members. Later, Andu visits Kudo and asks her if Sayumi took part in the student council president elections. She replies negatively, but Kudo tells him that she believes Sayumi initially wanted to become the president. However, her bond with the literature club members grew so strong that she decided to let go of that position. The scene then shifts to the fight between Sayumi and Andu in the past, where we see all the members rooting for Andu. He persistently gets up every time, and Sayumi, out of frustration, allows him to use his power. He finally manages to summon dark flames, but Sayumi effortlessly locks him in a submission. She decides to erase his power for good by using her route of origin. In the next scene, Andu arrives at Sayumi's house and apologizes to her for being insensitive. However, Sayumi reveals that she's not angry and she was feeling drowsy for real the other day. Above all, the reason why she didn't visit the literature club today is that she was busy buying new contacts for herself. Andu gets relieved to know that it was all a misunderstanding. The same flashback appears in the next scene, and Sayumi fails to erase Andu's power. It is revealed that their powers cannot be erased and they become a part of who they are. Sayumi discloses that she fears what would happen if one of them turns evil and decides to use their power destructively. However, Andu assures her something like that won't happen and suggests that they should rather play with their powers. In the next scene, Sayumi reveals that the reason why she wanted to become student council president in high school was partially to clear away her trauma from middle school. However, she doesn't regret turning away that position because now she's an integral part of the literature club. Afterwards, she states that her grandmother believed there's no such thing as a proper woman, as everyone has flaws. Andu praises her and accidentally says that he has fallen for her. She believes you must learn a thing or two about manners from her. In a flashback, it is revealed that Hatoko accidentally activates the alarm and hides away to save herself from being punished. However, Andu finds her and decides to take the blame to ease her. Later, on a sunny morning, Hatoko wakes up early and looks at the picture of Andu. On the other hand, Andu's sister barges into his room and wildly wakes him up. She orders him to summon Hatoko tonight because their mother has a neighborhood meeting, therefore she won't be home tonight. She wants Hatoko to make the dinner because it'll taste much better than anything she or Andu would make, and he agrees. Later, Hatoko happily agrees to cook dinner for them tonight. She realizes that it's been ages since she has visited his house and asks him what he would like to eat. Andu replies anything would be fine, and afterwards suggests she cook flavored meat. In the next scene, Tomoyo tells Hatoko that she looks quite happy, and Hatoko nods excitedly. Later, Sayumi proposes a literature club activity and tells everyone to write a light novel. Hatoko and Shifuyu finish their novels with the same theme, the pursuit of reality. Andu's theme is skipped, and Sayumi reveals that her theme is Chunibyo. Much to everyone's surprise, Tomoyo discloses that she wasn't able to write anything and apologizes to Sayumi. Later, Hatoko decides to go home together with Andu. However, he tells her to go ahead without him as his sister should already be there. He reveals that he needs to discuss something with Tomoyo, but Hatoko tells him that she can wait for him. Anyhow, Andu believes it's something she wouldn't understand, and Hatoko leaves. She recalls a flashback when she returned a light novel to Andu. She told him that she wasn't able to understand most of it, and Andu said perhaps it's not her cup of tea. On the other hand, Andu continues teaching Tomoyo, but she decides to go home. He tells her that he's ready to hear her thoughts, and Tomoyo reveals that she's struggling with the protagonist's name while working on a youth story. Andu returns home and Hatoko greets him. She informs him that his sister is in her room and she's busy finishing a report which is due tomorrow. She asks him about his discussion with Tomoyo, but he ignores her and begins texting with Tomoyo. She continuously asks him questions about Tomoyo, but Andu refuses to tell her. He again tells her that she wouldn't be able to understand anything. This time, Hatoko bursts out with anger and rants that she's unable to understand anything he says. She complains that he uses stupid names instead of being straightforward and runs away with tears in her eyes. Andu goes out to find her, but he meets Sayumi, who tells him that he saw her running at full speed a while ago. Andu reveals to him that she snapped and ran off suddenly. Much to his surprise, Sayumi discloses that he was always a poor fit with Hatoko and this was bound to happen. She always felt the stress and finally had enough of Andu. Later, Andu informs Tomoyo about the situation and Hatoko meets Hajime. Tomoyo and Sayumi find Andu in a rough state. Sayumi uses her restoration power to heal Andu, and he blames himself for hurting Hatoko. Tomoyo slaps him and advises him to get his act together. On the other hand, Hajime informs Hatoko that she's feeling guilty and she's ashamed of herself for being unable to understand her childhood friend. He teaches her that those who suffer true abuse seek the understanding of others, and they also don't want to be misunderstood. In short, they are stuck in an endless paradox and she shouldn't worry about them. Afterwards, she looks him in the eyes and becomes unconscious. Sayumi, on the other hand, prepares to use the route of origin to track her. A couple of weeks earlier, Hajime confronts another user with powerful abilities named Yukawa Tuhai. Hajime himself is known by the name of Ancient Lucifer in the fighting world. Hajime makes a small circle and tells him that he won't take a single step outside to defeat him. Yukawa mindlessly rushes at him, but Hajime steps outside and punches him in the face. Before Yukawa can use his abilities, Hajime attacks him with his ability called Pinpoint Abyss and defeats him. It is revealed that Hajime's ability grants him the power to return the users with special powers back to their normal lives without any memory of their abilities. Moreover, a fairy named Licia informs him that a fairy war has been set up by a group of fairies. It's just an entertainment show for the fairies, and they put humans against each other for the sake of recreation. Hajime reveals that the last 8 participants can have a wish they want granted, but he's only doing it for the sake of having fun. Licia reveals to Hajime and Hitomi Sato, his second-in-command, that an organization named F is overproducing rogue power users. Later, she gathers all the members of Hajime's group of ability users called the Fallen Back. She orders them to infiltrate the base of F and crush them. However, F has someone with an ultimate power called System, who's their trump card. According to Fallen Back members, System's power is on par with God, and F is trying to end the fairy war. Hajime thinks that F's ringleader was originally a War Management Committee member. That's the reason why the War Management Committee can't take any drastic action against F yet. Licia orders Hajime to crush F, but he refuses as he dislikes her attempt to manipulate him and leaves to visit the high school. Later, Hitomi realizes that Hajime might have lost interest in war, and Licia believes she has a crush on him. Licia reveals that the committee has finally made a decision regarding F. They have decided to propose a truce to F while secretly gathering everyone with powers to launch a surprise attack and eliminate them. Hitomi decides to eliminate F on her own with the help of the Fallen Back to end the war for good. Licia orders Hajime to assist her while he's in a restaurant with Andu, and he reluctantly agrees. The Fallen Back infiltrates the base of F and meets System, but she overpowers them easily. Suddenly, Hajime appears out of nowhere and saves them. It is revealed that System is in fact the newest member of the Fallen Back, and Hajime orders everyone to destroy F. Later, he notices that he has accidentally captured Hatoko instead of Sayumi. He wants Sayumi's recovery ability to end the war. On the other hand, the literature club members gather around, and Sayumi uses Route of Origin's next stage, the Taurus Binding Philosophy. She is able to retrieve Hatoko, and Andu apologizes to her for being so ignorant. Tomoyo discloses to everyone that she's trying to become a light novel author, and Andu's Dark and Dark evolves into Dark and Dark of the End. Tomoyo finishes writing a light novel and asks Andu for some feedback. He happily accepts to help her, and she praises his amazing Shunibyu lifestyle. Andu reveals that he was almost on the verge of quitting this lifestyle in middle school. However, he met an unknown girl who wore a silver wig and glasses. She was a crazy girl who referred to herself by an archaic pronoun. Tomoyo suddenly gets flustered and leaves, and then asks her a serious question. She informs her that she wants to talk a bit about love with her. Afterwards, she asks Tomoyo if she has someone she loves, to which she replies negatively. Hatoko reveals that she's in love with Andu and wishes to talk more with him. She wants to go shopping, visit lots of places with Andu, and be with him every day. Tomoyo asks her why she's telling this to her only. Hatoko replies that she believes Tomoyo is the one who understands Andu the most, while she understands him the least. She wants to become his chosen one, and again asks Tomoyo if there's someone she loves. In the next scene, Andu gets excited to know that the summer break starts tomorrow. Tomoyo fails the second round of the New Author Award and wonders how she'll tell the results to Andu. She also ponders why she didn't tell Hatoko that she's in love with Andu too. In the next scene, Chifuyu and Kyuki wait for Andu to visit the pool. Kyuki starts talking about homework, and Chifuyu informs her that she hates people with no common sense. Therefore, she tells him to stop talking about anything related to the school during summer break. Andu arrives, and Kyuki gets jealous of his relationship with Chifuyu. Later, they visit the Sealand and enjoy the water slides in the pool. Kyuki decides she can't let a perverted lolicon like Andu stay near Chifuyu any longer and plans to damage his image. She begins with the operation named Everyone Hates Stingy Men. She intentionally takes him to the food court and decides to order something from each stall, so Andu's wallet reaches its limit in a flash. However, much to her surprise, Andu buys everything without finishing his money, and Kyuki's first operation fails. She begins the next operation named Everyone Hates a Loser, where she tries framing Andu. She decides to intentionally go near the lifeguard but gets scared by his huge body. Ultimately, she calls Andu to rescue him and fails this operation as well. Later, they take part in an animal quiz competition. She believes once Shifu learns that Andu is a hollow and empty-headed person, she'll wake up from her transient love. She begins the final operation called Everyone Hates Dumb Men. The final round of the quiz competition begins and the winner will be awarded a brand new Jeep. However, Shifu decides to get 8 questions correct to win the stuffed whale. She gets 7 questions right in a row and Andu fails to contribute in any. Kyuki believes Andu has started to show his true colors and Shifu will be disillusioned with him soon. Much to her surprise, Andu successfully answers all the questions correctly and wins the competition. However, he leaves the Jeep and takes the stuffed whale with him. He gives it to Shifu, which surprises Kyuki, and she gets impressed by his humbleness. Later, Shifu sleeps and Andu decides to let her rest a bit longer. He gives an orange juice to Kyuki, and she gets flustered. She believes she has also fallen for Andu, but he seriously requests that she continue to be Shifu's friend forever. Kyuki realizes that Andu is worried about Shifu, which surprises her. He reveals that the other club members will graduate from high school eventually and the literature club will go its separate ways. Consequently, he believes he can't stay by Shifu's side forever and wants Kyuki to always stay with her. Kyuki agrees, telling him that she'll always be her best friend. In the next scene, Andu receives a call from Sayumi and later meets her at the bus stop. She asks him to accompany her to the sealant. Afterwards, she goes into the changing room and meets Sayumi. He advises her to wear the swimsuit prepared by him, but she refuses. However, it is revealed that he asked Maya to switch her swimsuit with the one he prepared. Consequently, she doesn't have any choice but to wear the swimsuit prepared by Sayumi. Later, she wears a bikini and Andu tells her that she looks like a rock star. However, she meets Sayumi again and he reveals her swimsuit becomes see-through when it's wet. Later, Sayumi tries her best to avoid making her wet. Andu praises her swimming and athletic skills, which makes her embarrassed. He also tells her that she has a nice figure and suddenly her swimsuit gets splashed with water. She becomes embarrassed but notices that Sayumi lied to her and leaves to find him. Later, she punches him in the face and warns him to stop talking to her again. She decides to play a fair game as she wants to become Andu's girlfriend. She believes there is no point in devaluing herself to win and bids him a final farewell. Suddenly, Sayumi calls Heijiro Nao, a former member of F, which surprises her. In the next scene, Sayumi advises Andu that his positivity is quite carefree, which is irritating for her. However, he praises her and reveals he likes her the best in the way she's right now. Later, Tomoyo calls Andu to ask if he's free tomorrow. He replies that he's going on a family vacation with both his and Hatoko's family. They'll be there only for one night and he'll be free the day after tomorrow. She tells him to be careful on his trip and hangs up the phone. In a flashback, it is revealed that Tomoyo first met Andu when she was in her early Chunibyo days. Tomoyo wore a silver wave and glasses while he helped her to fix her bicycle chain. He advised her to stop being a Chunibyo because the fictional worlds she admires don't actually exist. He believes someday she'll regret that she has done too many embarrassing things and says goodbye to her. Kundu attacks Hatoko, but Shifu saves her and she steals her power as well. Andu blocks Tomoyo and she stops time to transport everyone out of the club room elsewhere. Andu reveals that after his fight with Kudo, he went through daily simulations of what he'd do if he ever faced an opponent with the same power. Sayumi thanks him because his extraordinary Chunibyo saved them this time. It begins to rain and all the members relocate to the karaoke room. Tomoyo believes they're taking this situation lightly, but Andu assures everyone that Kudo will not be able to find them here. Sayumi calms down to break down the situation, therefore she advises that it's best to stick together and avoid splitting up. She believes that Kudo felt like a different person and it's possible that she might be fake. Ando believes another power user is involved and decides to find the truth. He calls Kudo and realizes from her behavior that the current Kudo is fake. On the other hand, Nao gets frustrated by Andu and Sagami informs that none of them know anything about the Fairy War. Sagami reveals that the powers of the Literature Club members are immense. They're on a level of cheating even compared to those in war. If Nao defeats Team Andu by herself, no one will complain about her officially joining his side, even though she's a remnant of F. Sagami takes the responsibility of taking care of Nao's real body as she goes out. Ando concludes that Kudo has become a victim of the possessive power. He decides to confront her alone, but she beats him up badly. He informs Kudo that he's the only one who knows about the location of others. Therefore, if she kills him, she'll lose her only lead and won't be able to fulfill her objective. Ando gets serious and awakens his power Dark and Dark to attack her. She instantly steals his power, but Ando doesn't lose his one. Much to her surprise, Kudo's hand starts burning and in a flashback, it's revealed that Andu was unable to dispel dark of the end. Instead, Shifu chopped off his hands and Sayumi used her restoration powers to heal him. Kudo is unable to put out the fire and Andu tells her he'll spare her if she goes out in her original body. Nao leaves Kudo's body and she returns Shifu's power to her. Afterwards, Sayumi heals Kudo and Andu while Nao gets frustrated. Suddenly, Hajime appears out of nowhere and defeats Nao in her original body. It is revealed that she was double-crossed by Sayumi. On the other hand, Kudo thanks Sayumi for saving her. She believes Andu is an irresponsible person who deeply cares for others. That's the reason why she and Sayumi fell in love with him. In the next scene, Hatoko and Tomoyo finally reconcile. Tomoyo reveals that she's in love with Andu and Hatoko assures her that she'll lose him to her. Later, Shifu tells Andu that she'll always protect him and he advises her to never use her powers to hurt anyone. He shows his power to Shifu in public and Tomoyo begins insulting him. After the summer break, the literature club members return to their normal lives. And with this, we conclude our recap for today. If you enjoyed our video, do give us a like and subscribe to any recap for more amazing content.